Hello. So, the topic that we'll be talking about today is beyond automation. Now, I'm going to break down the topic a bit because it's a lengthy one. So, when we talk about beyond automation, the first thing that I think about is automation itself. We've been talking about AI for years now. It's been over decades. Even if you go back to 1950s, we were talking about AI and we're talking about automating things. And as of now, we are as close to what we were imagining back in the day as we've ever been in the past. So, but why all of a sudden are we trying to move beyond automation, right? Because the whole idea is to get the flow running where you need minimalistic human intervention and you can get the tasks done. And that is happening right now, right? We're not facing any difficulties there, but when we say automation, what I think instantly is a conveyor belt, right? It's a conveyor belt that is delivering something to you. Now that is something that is very efficient. It's a very efficient design. But is it flexible enough? Because I think there's a lot of inflexibility in the design itself. So when I talk about automation, I think about a conveyor belt. And now, if I want to move beyond it, if I want to make something that is flexible, something that is intelligent, adaptable, I think about Agentic AI. So we'll be designing Agentic AI workflows with Azure AI Foundry, and we'll be seeing how multi-agents are trying to shape the current way on how we present solutions to the enterprises. So a bit about me before we move any further. And so I am Arisha Said. I'm a principal AI evangelist at Royal Cyber. I joined the company 2 years ago, but I've been in the field for 6 years now. 2019 is when I initially started working, and I have seen so many shifts from then. When I started working, we were primarily dealing with core data science projects, machine learning projects, and then we shifted towards neural nets. We started working using deep networks and started doing deep learning, started using deep learning approaches. And then gradually there was a shift that was, I believe, the largest shift from what we were previously doing, which was moving towards the large language models. And now it's the agents. Now it's the multi-agents that we're using along with large language models to make things happen. So I believe that's something a bit about me. Co-presenting with me today is Osama Khan. I'll give the stage to you, Osama. Have a go at it. Present yourself, please.
Thank you, Arisha. So my name is Osama Khan, and I'm working in Royal Cyber as AI solution engineer from past 3 years, and I'm working in multiple domains, from manufacturing to the real estate. We are working in the data science, machine learning, and currently, after the shifting into the generative AI, I've majorly working in the agents and the agentic-based solutions. So this is my small introduction. Giving back to Arisha. So please continue.
Okay. Okay. So before we move further ahead, let's talk about Royal Cyber a bit first, the company that gave us this platform. So Royal Cyber is an IT consultancy which has been working globally for past 20 plus years. We have been operating in 10 plus countries. We have clientele from around the world, and we focus on delivering solutions that are efficient and effective and as modern as it can get to make lives easier of their clientele. So we've been working with a lot of different businesses. We have been working in education, in manufacturing, a lot of different domains, and we have targeted a lot of different solutions. And every time we try to deliver what is the best for the client. So we have technology partnerships with some of the biggest names with some of the biggest technology names like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and we believe in delivering. We believe in delivering what is best for our client without thinking of any other additional boundary. So that's something about Royal Cyber for your perspective. Moving further is the agenda for today. So we'll be targeting the next evolution of AI. AI has been evolving since forever, so we won't be talking about the whole this whole evolutionary chart. We'll just be talking about what the next evolution is. And we'll be talking about a bit about Azure AI Foundry, how it works, how it's easing in the development of multi-agent systems, Then we'll be talking about the system that we designed, a use case where we used agentic AI a lot, we implemented agentic AI using Azure AI Foundry, and then we'll be demonstrating you how the system actually works, how the solution is working, what tasks are the agents doing, and how is the entire thing getting binded up. Following that, we'll be talking about the business impact that the solution has, and then the floor would be yours for the questions. So before we dig deeper into anything, I think the first and the most important thing to understand here is what is agentic AI. So I've added this very simple diagram here, and I think this is how simple agentic AI is. So what happens is 90% of the times you have natural language input. And I mentioned 90% here because a lot of times the input is not natural language, but it could be a PDF file or any other formatted file, image, video, something that you're providing as input to your model. So 90% times, to avoid any sort of confusion, is the amount of times that we use natural language input. Once the input is in, interpretation and reasoning begins. So you know how human brain works is if I have to pick a glass of water from the table, my brain is going to give me a signal. It's going to activate some sensory nerves within my arms, within my hand, and gradually, as I receive that signal, my hand is going to grab the glass and I'm going to pick it up, right? So this is how the reasoning works. So your brain knew it had a task and it created a bunch of steps that it was going to use to get that task done, to achieve that task, right? So that is what interpretation and reasoning is inside agentic AI. Once you have a task, a whole workflow is generated around it. A master agent or an orchestrator agent receives that action that the user has asked for, and then it decides which agent would be doing which task, and how are we going to represent that final output to the user. Once this workflow is generated, then it's time for that workflow to start executing. Once the execution is done, you get the final output. So in very simple words, there are four basic things that agentic AI does for you. It perceives the input that the user gave, then it reasons. It reasons on how it's going to meet the goals that the user has defined. Once that reasoning is done, then it decides that, okay, this is the flow that I'm going to use to meet this final goal, and then it acts. This is what AI is, agentic AI is, summing it up. Now, there's a line that I've written here is that businesses can't rely on rigid pipelines. The, so, I mean, to add on to it, this world, the only thing that is truly constant in this world is that it keeps changing. So, applying the same thing to a business is businesses are very dynamic. Though we like hold them down, and businesses do have these particular use cases around which they're evolving, but still there's a lot of dynamic change. Things get changed, requirements get changed, data gets updated. So, how can rigid pipelines handle something that is so dynamic? They were handling it. I mean, when we did not have any other option than using those rigid pipelines, we made it happen. Like we used those rigid pipelines to get those tasks done. But why keep relying on something that is rigid when you do have something that has adaptability in it? So agentic AI is something that is adaptive, that is able to learn, that is able to add intelligence into the current flow that you've built. So I believe it is the best time to integrate agentic AI into whatever tasks we're doing because dynamic behaviors do not change. And if we have something that can eradicate that rigidity within your task, within your pipeline, then why not? Why not go for that, right? So if I mean, sum everything that I just said, what I would say is that agentic AI is the AI that not only responds to your query, but it acts. It acts out on whatever you said. And that is why I believe we need it. So, moving forward, like I gave myself a liberty to make a comparison between what traditional automation was and then what agentic AI is. It's practically a shift from pipelines to an ecosystem. So, don't get me wrong here. Like I have worked on so many pipelines. I have built so many traditional pipelines throughout my career, and I've been very happy with how they were working. But I do agree that the smallest change can cause the pipeline to break. You'll get an exception, like you can add exception handlings as much as you want to avoid your pipeline to break. But practically, when you're getting an exception, even if the whole process is not breaking down, that little chunk is getting broken down. So there are a lot of rules. There's rigidity. There is there are predefined steps. So everything that you do is in a predefined manner. You have to define everything before you get the pipeline running. Agents add intelligence into this whole pipeline, into this whole view. You now have intelligence added, adaptability that is added in on top of everything, decisions that are made on real time. So let's say I created this pipeline, and what this pipeline does is I've attached a RAG behind it, and it just fetches the output from the documents that I've provided. Now, what if I make a general conversation to this bot? Ideally, what would happen is the bot would not be capable of making the general conversation. But if you add an agent on top of it, what that agent would do is it would understand that, okay, this conversation that the user is trying to make, it's not from the documents that are part of the RAG, that are not, it's not present in the data that we have, but it is a general conversation. So why not go ahead and make a general conversation and keep the user intact so that the user does not just, get an understanding that the flow is not working. And then once the question is about the documents that are part of the RAG, then it starts answering those questions using the pipeline that you've built on the backend. So there's an additional layer, right? It's adapting to whatever the user is saying. It's understanding the context. Then another very interesting thing that I've realized is that the optimization that we can achieve within a rigid pipeline is just with the efficiency. We can make it efficient. We can make it efficient using a lot of different methods. But with an agentic AI environment, within an agentic AI ecosystem, we can optimize both intelligence and scalability as well. We can scale how we're getting the task done, right? We can add in additional agents without having too much overhead, without having too much code to get ingested within the flow, and we can practically achieve a new branch of tasks without too much overhead. So I have this simple diagram here, and one of the best things that I love about this diagram is, other than observing, thinking, and acting, the parts that we have previously discussed, there's learning involved in agentic AI as well. So basically what happens is agents maintain their history. So when a user is conversing with an agent, there's a history that is getting maintained. And that history enables the agent to understand that, okay, this is a question that the user asked last time, and the answer that I returned was not correct, was not according to what the user wanted it to be. So what it's going to do next time is it's going to take that history and use it as a knowledge to understand the answer that it has to provide to the user next time. So this is a process of self-healing and continuous learning, which I think is very interesting, which is something that is not part of our current manual rigid pipelines. Because in those pipelines, if something new happens, then you have to manually inject that information into your pipeline. So for example, if a new rule comes in and my current pipeline is not handling that rule, what I do is I'd manually insert a chunk of code which would now which would now figure out that, okay, if this happens, then I'm going to run this chunk. But that's not how it happens within an agentic AI workflow. Okay, moving forward is the frameworks that are used for agentic AI. I believe by now we have summed up pretty well what agentic AI is. It is intelligent, it is adaptable, and it's something that acts. It is something that makes life easier, not just for the developer, but for the enterprise itself, because, less development time is required in getting these tasks done. So that automatically shortens the life cycle that it takes to develop an entire system, and that makes it easier to get it into the deployment phase, into the testing phase, and ultimately into production. Okay, so Microsoft introduced Azure AI Foundry as a framework which allows you to create agentic AI workflows. Agentic AI workflows require agents, and then tools that they'll be connecting with, and then models that they'll be connecting with. So Azure AI Foundry has all of those things in one place. We have Foundry models, which are all the top tier models, which includes OpenAI models, Mistral models, Meta models. All of those models are provided into one confined space. Then we have Foundry agents. We can create as many agents as we want. We can use semantic kernel to connect those agents with each other, communicate with each other, delegate tasks amongst each other. Then we can connect it with multiple Azure services, right? AI search, AI services, Azure machine learning, content safety. We can connect it uh, with all the services that are present within the Azure framework. Then we have security and governance, which I think is one of the most important things when you're working with AI agents. It provides you with monitoring. It provides you with continuous updates on how the model is performing, better governance rules, better certifications. So you don't have to apply those things manually. Then connections with the cloud, then connections with different SDKs like Copilot, Visual Studio, Azure AI Foundry has its own SDK as well. So it is a lot happening within a single place and a complete orchestration where you're able to connect your tools with the right models, with the right agents, get the whole communication done within a single space. Sorry. So the core strengths that I believe Azure AI Foundry has to offer are integrated tool set, which means that what we just discussed, everything in a single space where you can fine tune a model, you can make model comparisons, you can get the whole process running within a single space. Then you have lifecycle management. So AI Foundry starts, I mean, if you have an idea, you can use this single framework to get that idea into execution. It has the ability to handle operations, to handle deployments, to handle any sort of uh, monitoring that you're supposed to have. It is able to handle practically the entire life cycle within a single space. Then there's enhanced security. You have data security with enhanced encryptions and access controls. It is able to govern based on, so Microsoft is a huge organization and they have tested governance policies that they've added to AI Foundry. So it follows all the practical compliances that are required. Then you have global availability. So Azure AI has a huge, like Azure AI sorry, Azure is a huge platform and it is available in 60 plus regions globally. So if you're deploying something on AI Foundry, it practically already means that you have availability across the globe with low latency, right? So you don't have to worry about having it connected with which data center at which point because it's already utilizing all the Azure resources and it is available across all the Azure regions. So you have that availability, that quick access, I'd say. So that was something about Azure AI Foundry and how it is one of the most practical tools when it comes to developing AI, agentic AI workflows. Sorry. This is an example that we'll be discussing now. So this is one of the use cases that we've worked on utilizing agentic AI and Azure AI Foundry. I have this example here. It is basically a sample box. It is the box of a cooling itch relief spray, which is a pharmaceutical product. It is considered as an off the counter pharmaceutical product. So basically, what happens is every single product that you see in the market that is present on the shelves, let it be medicine, let it be a water bottle, let it be a packet of chips, whatever it is, every single thing that goes on the shelf that is printed and then is present on the shelf had to pass specific steps of compliance before it was able to make its way to that shelf. Unless the compliance rules that have been provided by whichever governing body, uh, FDA or whichever governing body is present in your region, unless those compliance rules are not met, you are not able to have your product be placed on a shelf. So the compliance process in companies, FMCG based companies, is usually very hectic, right? It takes multiple rounds of compliance. A single round can take up to 2 to 3 hours where you have to manage if the text is in the correct format, if the text has the, I mean, if the wording is correct, if the spellings are correct, if the font has been written correctly, if the placement of the font is correct, if the values that are written, for example, in this particular case, we have net weight written here. So we have ounce and grams mentioned. These are very particular measurement units that are used on each product. Not every product uses grams, not every product uses ounces. So all of this entire process, once a label has been designed, has to go through all this compliance to make sure that the font size is accurate, that if a symbol is present, then why is that symbol present? Was that symbol supposed to be on top of the product or not? So I labeled this product for your understanding, because in the demo later we'd be talking a bit about all these different values. So I wanted you to understand that when we say active ingredient, or when we say net quantity, or when we say warnings, what exactly do we mean by those? In this example, CVS is the brand name. It's an instant cooling itch relief is the product name. Then we have an active ingredient here. This white box here, which has the product name written on it, the active ingredient written on it, the net quantity written on it, is the PDP. PDP is basically your principal display panel, which is supposed to have this fixed amount of information written on top of it always. Like PDP should always have this information on it. Then we have the net quantity written down here. Then we have some drug facts, the uses, warnings, directions. Now, every single bit of this information has to comply to what the FDA has mentioned. All of this information is critical. And then the font size. Like, is your font size sufficient enough for user to read it? I mean, does it have that readability? Is a normal person able to read it? Because if it's not, then you're practically breaking a law, right? So, following this, I'm first going to talk about the multi-agent orchestration system that we're using here. Then we'll be talking a bit about all the different agents that we've used in this use case till we jump onto the demo. So, this is a multi-agent architecture. Of course, we have multiple agents, we have ingestion agents, then we have pre-processing agents, extraction agents. We have all these different agents that we're working with. Every single one of these agents are performing automation of trivial tasks. So all these tasks that were practically previously handled either through reserved rigid pipelines or through human intervention are now getting handled by the bots. So it's able to understand, so just to give you a context. So for example, if MG was written on a product, but M and G both were capitals, that completely changes the unit of measurement. It is no longer milligrams. It's a different unit of measurement. It's practically not milligrams. What you do if in your rigid pipeline you haven't added the check to have make sure that the case is sensitive, you're going to miss it out. And that's going to cause an issue later on unless a human intervention is involved. But again, that would increase the number of rotations between the pipeline and the user that are going to happen. So what agents are able to understand these sort of changes. So in the very first round, it's going to mention straight ahead that this is a violation, right? This is not milligram. This is some other system. Some other symbol, unit of measurement. It's able to understand that from the get-go. So these sort of trivial tasks where warnings are supposed to be read, automated issues are supposed to be logged, are all getting handled through these multi-agents that we've created. Then there's a department-aware routing. So basically, whenever an issue occurs, that report has to be sent out to whichever department is associated with that issue, right? That particular issue, if it's supposed to go to the FDA escalation team, or if it's supposed to go to the design team, like who is supposed to handle those issues? That routing happens to the multi-agents via email agents that we've created. Then we have a human in loop in this entire system because it is a highly critical task and you cannot leave out a human without having a supervisor within the task, but it gradually reduces the number of people that were previously involved in the compliance. So if previously there were different people that were performing three different layers of compliance, now there's just one person who is in the end checking if the compliance that was returned through your Agentic AI system is correct or incorrect. There are a lot of long-term benefits to this whole system, where you have reduced compliance errors, where the turnaround is faster, and you have a product that is in compliance. So if the compliance process is done faster, then you're faster in through the printing process, and you're fast. And then you're fast tracked into getting that product out and be on the shelf. So the whole process actually becomes way faster than what it was before. This is a more complex architecture of the same design, but basically it talks about the tools that we've used and all the technology stacks that were used, how the orchestration agent assigns tasks to all the other agents that are present within the system, how the ingestion agent is listening from the Oracle PLM. All that process has been mentioned in this architecture diagram, but I'll be explaining it a bit better in the further slides. Okay, so we have an ingestion agent here, which is actually connected to Oracle PLM, which is a platform where the designs are uploaded, the designs that are made for the products. Those designs, as soon as they get uploaded, we get a notification directly on the system through the ingestion agent that, okay, a new file is ready to be complied, sorry, uh, whether you want to start compliance on it or not. Then we have a pre-processing agent, which processes that document in whatever way that the user has required. So a lot of times what happens is a complete die of the design is sent. I believe that might get a bit um, too nitty gritty into the details of how the product actually looks like, but basically there's a lot of additional information on a single PDF, and the idea is to only fetch the right PDF. Once that PDF is fetched to the pre-processing part, the agent sends it out to the extraction agent. So basically what we have here is we have sequential flow and we have parallel flows, both integrated side by side. So some agents processing is required to be done before it can be passed on to the other agents. The first three agents, that is the ingestion agent, pre-processing agent, and the extraction agent, all three of these have to get their tasks done before the other agents can start working on their tasks. So they're practically reliant. There is a sequential flow here, but following that, it is then a parallel process where all the agents perform their own singleton tasks and return the user whichever task they're looking forward to. So extraction agent practically uses Azure's document intelligence, extracts the data, and then uses GPT-4o to label the data according to label the data based on whichever segment that data belongs to. So net quantity becomes net quantity, comes under the net quantity segment. The product name comes under the product name segment, and so on and so forth. So this entire task of delegating, to delegate which agent is going to perform which task. So if the user, let's say, just asked for font size detection, they were only interested in understanding if the font size is correct or not. So based on the query that the user is going to send, the orchestration agent is going to make sure that it sends the data first through these two pipelines of these two agents, the preprocessing agent and the extraction agent, and then takes it forward to the next agent, which is the font size agent. Then we have a monitoring agent, which is practically monitoring the whole flow, saving the logs, providing application insights. We have a state manager, which is basically sending whatever callouts we're generating back to Oracle PLM, sending a report out to the user to confirm if the report that the agent has generated is correct or not. A font size estimation agent, which practically checks if the font size is in regulations, meets the regulations that the FDA has provided. A logo detection agent, which works if the logo is present, doesn't if the logo is not present. We're using Azure's custom vision models to get this task done. And then finally, we have the validation agent, which checks if the text is in accordance with the regulations of FDA, if some text is missing, or if some text is incorrect, should have been in a different manner, should have been written with different set of words, etc. So I guess that is the use case that we have worked on so far. Now I'd be giving the control off to Osama, who's going to give you a demonstration through a journey and show you how exactly is the whole process working. Over to you, Osama.
Thank you, Arisha, for setting the stage so clearly. Now let me take you from the vision into the real journey, basically. So this is basically the multi-agent journey, which Arisha talked about it. So it starts from our first agent, which is the ingestion engine. So in the ingestion agents, we have the basically which what it will do. It basically what you see is it's not just a diagram. Basically, it's a complete flow. It's a complete flow which we like build the models and the AI agents based on it. So think it of like an orchestra. Each agent has its own tools and uh, techniques, but the master agent which we have is conduct a symphony. So it's like that. So the trigger or the agent ingestion you can see here is the main thing. So it detects the new label when it comes to in our pipeline and pulls the PDF, EWS, and basically attaches all the information and then trigger the compliance run. So let me show you how it will work. So here uh, basically we have created this in our co-pilots, and so it integrated in your MS Teams, so you don't have to like go on to some other tool for this. So you have everything into your ecosystem. So let's start with our question. So from the ingestion, and then we have one file which we are using here, which is this, which Arisha shows you in the previous slide. So we will run the compliance on this one. So once we run on this, so we will tell the agent, so please run the compliance. Okay. On EAW 123. So basically, once it will starting, so what will be does, it goes to the master agents, it pre-process it, and then clean and standardize all the things from the EAW which we send to the master agent. So it pulls out the key details, ingredient, dosage, and the warnings, and all in seconds. And after it, it will go to the font agent. So what it will be doing, so in the font agent, it is verify the typography, icons, mandatory warnings. So normally this is the manual headache which usually we see in our manual pipelines. So here it is automated and accurate and fast. And after all the fonts and the symbols, we will see the validation agents apply the PDF rules across the board. So it will check from barcodes to safety labels, catching all the issues instantly. So here you can see our compliance manager, which is the main agent, it extract all the status, and it is shows that it is fail due to the following reasons. So it shows the missing other information section, which has to be on the specific label. It shows that it is missing the ask doctor before. It's a warning subsection which are also missing in the specific section, and for the pregnancy and the breastfeeding warning is also missing. So we want basically to give us the detailed analysis, give us the detailed analysis, give us the detail report analysis, you can say. So once it will be give the detailed analysis, what it will be doing. So the monitoring and the governance agent, it will be we can send report to the designer for fixes. So here you can see it generate the complete detailed report analysis, that the status is fail, the content completeness is 75, and the font score is 100. The critical issues which basically it shows in the above, also you can see it shows the missing findings and what are the recommendation. So this is the detailed report. We can email us to our any of the person which is the have the authority to change it and anything to review. So we can email us like email this report to, we can make an email. So it's like that. So it will send the email report to usama.com, which is my email ID. So it is saying that it's sent to the report. So when I go here, you can see I have got the email report in my email, the complete detailed report, which we see here. So this is how the complete agents work. So we can ask another questions with that, that what is the active ingredient in this. So it can take any spell mistake, so you can query it. So it's not, we have to just give us the correct spellings every time. So it gave us that the active ingredient in this one is the hydrocortisone 1%. So it is like that. So once it has been done, so you can see the message as well. Once like the ingestion, here I can show you. So the ingestion agents also does what, it detects any new PDF which comes into our system. So here it is the one, EAW 12345 also added for compliance. So we can run the compliance on this as well. If I copy it and I say run compliance, okay, compliance on this file which is currently like detected by our ingestion agent. So same, the process will go, it will extract it, then it will go for the font agent, then for the validation agent, and once it will be done, so it will give us the report on the specific EAW. So this is the complete flow of our multi-agent journey. So we have all the agents working together and give us the compiles and the compliance report as I show you, and it loops back every time to the designer until everything is compliant. So this is the journey of our multi-agent compliance manager. So from that demo, we can move further to next slide, which is like you can see the business impact. So what the business will get from it. So we can see that it is cutting so many repetitive tasks, reducing the manual labor. So if the business is saving the so much cost behind this manual and repetitive tasks using that agent and then it gained the efficiency also. It cut down the cycle all the time, and we can faster time to the market. So basically, and then the automated checks are drastically reduce the compliance mistakes, and every label is validated against the same rules, building a regulator and the customer confidence. So this is how the risk also reduce and the revenue grow basically when we have the cost saving and as well as the efficiency gains. And what are the key takeaways from this? So we have the three big points in this is that the rigid pipelines are being replaced with the adaptive agentic AI. We have the AI foundry behind it, which ensures the governance, scalability, and the trust, and then the rare ROI, which you can say the faster approval, fewer errors, and the compliance at scale. So this is how the major things behind this multi-agent framework which we built for basically the label compliance. So this isn't just automation; it adaptive intelligence enterprise can rely on. So with that, I will hand back to the Arisha for the Q&A. So thank you so much, Arisha, for giving me the context so well. So let back to thank you.
Thank you so much, Osama. Coming back to the questions, now the floor is yours. Feel free to ask whichever questions you guys have, uh, and we'll try to answer as many as we can, as well as we can. Okay, so we've received one question, which is how does agentic AI differ from traditional automation pipelines in terms of adaptability and scalability? That is something that we did discuss previously as well. So, just to enlighten it a bit more, traditional automation pipelines are rigid and linear. We've established that base. I mean, we are quite well aware that they can have this rigidity of not accepting new changes. But once they're built, I mean, you can add some flexibility rules into it. But what agentic AI does is that it uses multi-agent systems that can dynamically collaborate, self-adjust to changing conditions. So that adds adaptability and scalability, especially in complex enterprise systems, right? Uh, I hope that answers the question. We have another question. How can AI help speed up the data engineering process? Osama, if you'd like to handle that question, would if you want to.
Okay, so basically, how AI is helping the data engineering process, it's basically taking the significant steps by automating the repetitive task, improving the data quality, and optimizing the pipeline. So we have so much working on the pipelines in data engineering, from data ingestion to integration. So let's take that example, the data ingestion. The automated connectors are also been in the hype as well right now. The AI can learn common data source patterns and generate the ingestion scripts automatically. Schema mapping can also be handled by them. The AI model can auto detect the column mapping between different sources, and the change in detection. AI can to monitor the source system for schemas or data changes, so suggest pipeline updates. So this is how this is one example of the process of data engineering from the data ingestion part, where we can like take the AI, and it is helping in the data engineering process.
Okay. We have another question, which is how did you go about building the knowledge base used by the agents? So basically, I'm hoping that you're talking about the particular use case that we've defined here. The knowledge base for that, we fetched a bunch of documents. Some of them were provided by the user, of course, the client that we were working for, and the other we had them collected. Then we have FDA regulations that are provided uh, on the internet. You can use those regulations as base of your knowledge, right, to get those validations running. Of course, you need some solid base for that. You cannot come up with regulations on your own. So we were using FDA's regulation policies that they have provided. It is publicly available over the internet. And then I hope that this is the context that you're asking the question in. So other than that, if you're talking about the knowledge base for the data that we have on which we're performing all these different tasks, we did not have to train any model in that particular scenario. Using the validations that were provided by FDA, we just had to provide that intelligence to our validation agent, who was then able to understand which tasks are supposed to be performed in which manner. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so we have another question, which is what role does human in loop play when dealing with ambiguous compliance cases? So basically, a human in loop is always very important. So the idea of agentic AI is not to remove users from the whole flow, but it is to add users, humans in places where they're most beneficial, right? So when we talk about compliance use cases, we're talking about the ambiguous use cases. There are a lot of places where, uh, the font sizes may be in a manner, may be written in a manner that it is not able to comply to, even though it measures the correct inches, but it is not still readable enough. It is not able to meet the actual compliance rules that are defined by FDA. And so in cases like those, human intervention is important. It is something that is required because the bot, ultimately agentic AI, the way it works is still the way that you have designed it. Yes, it has intelligence, but that does not mean that it is that intelligence is capable of removing human from the loop to eradicate the human from the entire process. uh, and I mean, it speeds up the process too, right? So maybe the whole pipeline that got run through, uh, the final results that were provided by the compliance through the compliance that was done by the multi agents, it said that everything is good and they were good to go. But then maybe there was something like I mentioned, maybe the font the way that it was written, it was not, the readability was not good enough. But that is something that wasn't mentioned in the formal rules, so it wasn't able to understand that okay, this font size is something that I have to worry about as well. So we need human to keep having these sort of interventions within the whole pipeline. So that is why human in the loop is important. Okay, we have another question, and that is how, in the Azure AI Foundry demo, how does orchestration between multiple agents ensure compliance accuracy? Can you take that, Asama?
Sure. So basically, the AI Azure Foundry act as the orchestrator here, which is like used to coordinate and specialize agents. For example, font validation, content verification, or barcode checks. So each agent tackles their own type of problem which they are built for. So basically, while the orchestrator manage the dependence and the handoff, the division of the labor basically reduce the human error and ensure the end-to-end compliance accuracy. So this is how Azure AI Foundry act as used in this multi-agent demo.
Amazing. We have one more question. How can enterprises balance governance and flexibility when deploying multi-agent systems at scale? So for this, I believe that Azure AI Foundry is one of the best tools that can allow you to handle governance and flexibility all in a single go, because it has the governance controls, audit trails, versioning, and then monitoring, while still enabling the flexibility that you require in order to get your model, your system up and running. So I think that in itself is the crux of this entire conversation that we've had here is agentic AI is only, it is a very flexible thing, right? It makes your life easier. But what adds an additional layer of flexibility and ease to your current agentic AI workflow is utilizing Azure AI Foundry to get it deployed, to get it working, because the framework is practically designed to facilitate this whole flow, to facilitate this ecosystem in itself. Okay, I think that we've covered majority of the questions that were to be asked, and we're almost reaching the time. Uh, so I hope that you guys had a good learning experience, and that it was an informative presentation for you, and that whatever you came here to gain information on was actually provided to you. Okay, we have just one more question that just came in, which is, can you have multiple countries' regulations built into the knowledge base, and can it distinguish based on information provided with the PDF label? Okay, so we can definitely have the knowledge base be integrated with the multiple informations from different governing bodies that operate in different regions. uh, Based on the PDF that is provided, there are high chances that it would be able to understand which governing body that particular label falls on, because every single label it does not come with the basic information that is written on top of the bot, but it does come up with some artwork reviews present on top of it as well. So based on those artwork reviews, it is relatively easier for the model to understand which region is this product going to be supplied to. And through that, it is possible to have a single have a single agentic AI ecosystem to to be utilized to govern different the regulations of different countries. That is possible. We can get it done, and it would be able to recognize the label. You just have to instruct it in the right manner and provide it with the right information through which it is able to identify that okay, this belongs to maybe the FDA governing, this belongs to some other governing body. Then there is the text that is written on top of each product. So each product has a barcode that is present on it, and then some distribution informations that are present on it. All of these can be used as highlighters to define which country this particular product belongs to, and hence which regulations should be applied on top of this product. So with that question answered, and I hope that it does answer what you were asking, we would be finalizing the webinar. I hope that it was informative enough and you got the information that you required out of it. Thank you so much for attending and have a very good day ahead of you. Thank you. Goodbye.